What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more psytrance, and we're going to arguably my favorite post-2000 psychedelic trance release. There's an Alien in the Cat album, also on Tip World, that I'm very fond of, and is a similar type of album on a very similar level, but I do give this one the slight edge. It's just acidic, it's fast, it's dynamic. Some of the atmosphere is old school, even if the sonics are a bit more post-2000. Psytrance, as you would expect. But yeah, like I said, this is arguably one of my favorite psychedelic albums ever, on the same level in terms of how much I enjoy it as some of the real old school, like classic albums like, Hallucinogen, The Lone Deranger, or Astral Projection, any one of their first 4 or 5 albums. So again, even though this is a different sound than those classics, this is just a genius album that I absolutely love. Save the Robot, it's interesting. They made a lot of tracks like this in the mid-aughties. This album is from 2005. It's funny, this album is called Battle of the Mind, but the Battle of the Mind track is on a separate single, meaning the album, title track didn't actually make the cut of the album, though again, I do have the album, or the 12-inch that it's on. I was talking to Tassos, a big friend of the channel, about this release, and I was saying that the whole album is just class, and even though there are 2 or 3 tracks I like in particular, none more so than the opening track off the assembly line we're going to listen to here, but it really just has this classic melodic atmosphere to it, even though, again, it's very acidic, it's very dynamic and fast. So bottom line, I'm a huge fan, and we're going to listen to arguably my favorite track on the release. As I said, it's called Off the Assembly Line, and it's from the album Battle of the Mind 2005 by Save the Robot. Oh, and I didn't finish that story. They eventually sort of switch. It's I think, an Israeli duo. They eventually switched to making house, progressive house music, and they did that for several years. I think in the last 3 or 4 years, they've begun making psychedelic trance under the Save the Robot name again. So they've come home, perhaps, so I'm very excited about that. But I actually, I didn't make a point to dig them all out, but I have 3 copies of this album, because when I first discovered it, the copy I got, it was used, and it had, some pops here and there. It's I want to get a better copy. So I did. I got a near mint copy, and the website that I was selling, or that I bought it from, was this German website which had a lot of psytrance vinyl, and it was basically indicating that they were trying to liquidate their inventory. They were trying to get rid of lots of copies of records, and you could save on shipping. So I ended up buying 2 copies of this. So I have 3 copies. 1 mint, never touched. This one near mint, because I take very good care of it, even though I do play it. And another one that is I don't know, VG to VG plus on Discogs rating, but it's essentially been retired, because now that I have a better copy of it, I don't really need to play that one, though I suppose I keep it around just in case. Regardless, I'll stop talking and we'll listen to it. This is Save the Robot, and the track is Off the Assembly Line from the 2005 album Battle of the Mind. When I say this track has just a lively, dynamic, rolling psytrance bass line, you really have to hear it to appreciate the degree to which that is true. They have a lot of those stop-start, catch-and-release moments. A rhythmic acid stab, some computer virus moments. track has phases, multiple parts of the story. Transformers want to come out and play. This like rolling psychedelic fog. I mean, it's more like sunshine actually, but its movement is like slow and wave-like. That's like the first of 4 significant moments along the way. Like cool down, sort of a jazzy relaxation feel all of a sudden. New melodic line coming in. Like that voice. But it's a baby switch. Mechanical. Bristling with energy. All these like staccato cut up. There's someone playing like a synth guitar. Hear that like it was like a projector reel like slowly turning off, or like the reel was like loose. But so surely we're going to the outro, right? It's not like there could be a bigger drop that we're waiting for. Right, we're going to the outro, sure. Or that's what I thought the first time I heard this. daytime psytrance, like out in the sun. And then, you're mixing into something else here, but you're still letting the bass line roll over your incoming tune. And ideally, if you line things up right when this sort of peters out, your new track will pop off. Still rocking on the way out. The opposite of what it did at the beginning, right? In the beginning, it goes from a totally, like, killed or neutered kick, and then it rolls into, like, a heavier kick. More on that later, what you were just about to hear. But yeah, like I said, I absolutely love this album. It's genius. We'll go through the whole thing. There are a few I want to do first. I, Robot is another one I really, really do love. Robot on Drugs, which is what was just about to start there, another favorite. But as I said, the whole thing is great, electrochemical. So yeah, we'll go through everything. Once more, shout out to Save the Robot, shout out to Tip World and Roger Ram, and shout out to Psychedelic/Goa Trance on vinyl, which is fair to say, part of the reason I don't have as much Goa and Psy vinyl is because that genre went digital more quickly and comprehensively than a lot of others. And even though there are labels like Tip, the original, and also Tip World, and then I think like Tip came back again, all has to do with like licensing and whatever. But yeah, Tip and Roger Ram's labels were one of the few that continued to put out vinyl during the like dead years of the middle 2000s, which I think is when vinyl was sort of at its lowest point pre-resurgence, which I think began around like 07, 08, especially like 09, and has continued up into the present day, although, talking to producers and label bosses and so on, it's crazy because like as the resurgence happened, some record plants that close, and the ones that remain open, sometimes they have older equipment, and it takes longer to do things. Bottom line, a lot of these plants, pressing and cutting, have like crazy backlogs, and so like there's a vinyl resurgence, people want vinyl, but it's hard to get like a record out, and in particular there's like a long wait for a lot of releases, which I found out when I was waiting for the track that I got to collaborate on with Pete to come out, because we had finished it and there was a process of what label it would go to, and then once that happened it was like, well, there's still going to be 6 months or whatever until the record will get pressed, and at that point it'll just be the white labels, and it'll only be the full press like a little bit after that. So yeah, it's crazy the way the world of vinyl works, but I am very thankful to all labels that have continued to put out vinyl, including Psychedelic and Goa vinyl, which again, more than techno, more than hardcore, really dried up in terms of the number of labels putting out vinyl. And again, there's been a few labels in recent times, Sun Trip, where they're kind of like reissuing some releases that were only done digital in the aughties and the mid 2000s and so on, that are now, they want to put out on vinyl for people who are really into collecting Goa vinyl. So shout out to Sun Trip, shout out to Tip World and Roger Ram. Let me know what you think of this one, and I will see you next time. Peace.